What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we are jumping back into Destiny 2. We've got the weekly reset for the 3rd of June, also a game update for today, which drops alongside the Prophecy Dungeon for Rite of the Nine, so at least a couple of things going on in terms of the game this week. And additionally, of course, Edge of Fate previews have been rolling out, with folks getting hands-on time in the game, so we'll touch on a couple of items there, which are pretty interesting. But otherwise, on top of the patch changes for today, we have vendor roundups, so we'll cover the Eververse inventory, featured weapons, and activities for the week, as well as a couple of updates from Bungie. So as we head into the new week, if you do find the content helpful, hit subscribe, and I can keep you posted with upcoming content and everything related to the game. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and now let's get into it. Briefly, in terms of the game this week, as we've mentioned, Rite of the Nine has dropped with the Prophecy Dungeon, so we finally get access to Prophecy, which does have some of the best weapons for Rite of the Nine in terms of perk rolls. As always, there are some new quests at the Emissary as well, plus the attunement options to focus for any of the weapons that we particularly want. So be sure to head in and visit the Emissary before you jump into Prophecy this week, and let us know in the comment section if you'll be farming for any of the rewards. We're going to touch on the patch notes for today in just a moment, but obviously, with Rite of the Nine gearing us up for Edge of Fate, which is now dropping next month, we have started to get some early previews of some of that content. Bungie have very kindly offered some B-roll showing some of the rewards for Edge of Fate. Of course, there are loads of system changes with the portal, new weapon and armor stats, and all of those kind of reworks. On top of that, we get a bit of juice right here for some new exotics, so worth a very quick look. Firstly, there is a new hand cannon called Graviton Spike. We've actually spotted this in a couple of the different trailers. So looking at it, the trait here is Temporal Anomaly, and while overcharged, each mode expands a portion of overcharge for additional effects on final blows or precision hits. So in Arc mode, it calls down lightning strikes, and in Stasis mode, it creates an explosion and a formation of stasis crystals. So that's why it's switching between the two elements. The intrinsic trait is Temporal Manipulation, and we can swap between fast-firing Arc mode or slow-firing Stasis mode, and final blows and precision hits overcharge the opposing mode to enable additional effects. Safe to say this thing looks pretty wild, and you'll spot some clips of it in there as well. Otherwise, another new exotic is the 3rd iteration, and it's a Void Scout Rifle, and it has Triplanar Mass Driver, which fires a spread of Void energy projectiles, and aiming down sights will narrow the spread. Plus it has Amalgamation rounds, where aiming down sights for a short period without firing compresses the spread into a single high-density projectile, and damaging a target with this shot marks them. Then the weapon deals additional damage to marked targets. Plus defeating a marked target or landing a precision final blow with an amalgamation round grants invisibility and true sight. So that one sounds pretty interesting. Also, some exotic armor's been shown off. One for the Warlock here, I'm not even going to try and say the name, but it has Consul's Pitch, where Helion projectiles deal increased damage the further they travel, eventually fracturing into scorching shrapnel. I think these things look absolutely awesome as well. Plus, we have Moire, if I'm saying that correctly, for the Hunters, with the Webcatcher perk, and Threaded Spike can bounce to Tangles, detonating them and returning immediately. Plus Tangles detonated by Threaded Spike are rewoven and retrieved by it, and catches without a Tangle refund extra melee energy. So these are quite interesting in terms of the gameplay component. Finally though, we have Melus Panoplia for the Titans, a very curious looking one, and it has Forge Master, where collecting a Fire Sprite or Rapid Solar Final Blows make you a Forge Master, allowing you to recall your throwing hammer, and after impacting a target, we can recall the hammer at full intensity to perform a perfect recall, causing an explosion of Forge Slag, and perfect recalls and collecting Fire Sprites extend your time as a Forge Master. You'll also see a bunch of the reworked stats and things on these armor pieces, and a lot of that stuff we have broken down previously in other videos, but for a quick look at the exotics as we head into the other Destiny stuff for the week, give us your thoughts in the comment section. I'll be sure to post some more Edge of Fate updates a little bit later on, but for the patch changes that have dropped today, 3rd of June, for Rite of the Nine, Bungie say they fixed an issue that allowed the selection of Galahorn's exotic catalyst as a reward to players who already have it. For weapons in general, they fixed an issue where the reticle for Nature Reclaimed was moving more than intended, plus they removed the art surrounding the red dot, and they fixed an issue where enhancing the Curiosis FR4, said that wrong, but anyway, it reduced its impact stat, and it no longer should do that. Otherwise, for perks, they fixed an issue with all weapon archetypes where enhanced jolting feedback wouldn't always decrease the number of shots actually needed to jolt, so that's nice. And then, in general, for Void and Prismatic, they fixed the problem with Echo of Domineering and Facet of Command, where they could cause an animation issue with bows. Finally though, for Triumphs, an issue where Seeker of the Nine was being tracked on a per character basis instead of across the entire account. Those are all of the patch changes for today. but as always, I'll keep you posted if we get any extra stuff. Moving into the game, it is worth mentioning, apparently we get another Crossing the Threshold quest, so if you're still missing any exotics, that includes the Navigator, or the Hierarchy of Needs, or the Galahorn Catalyst, as we mentioned from those patch notes, then there should be another quest to grab any of those this week, which is certainly nice. Getting into the Eververse offerings for this week though, focusing on Bright Dust, we do have the Dubious Correlation exotic emote, which is available for 3,250 Bright Dust right there from back in Season of Arrivals. Also on the front page, we have the Network Shell exotic ghost from this season, so that's nice, 2,850 Bright Dust for that one, as well as the Subjugator entrance, which is 450 Bright Dust. Then, for front page shaders, we have Royal Treatment up for grabs initially, as well as the Seven Sisters shader, if it loads, right there, and as always, these will cost 300 Bright Dust. But moving over to the main Bright Dust section, we have the Yo-Yo Trick exotic emote available for 3,250 Bright Dust as well. On top of that, oh wow, we're now in the tower. Better skip back over to the Eververse store. On top of that, we also have the Pumping Up legendary emote for 700 Bright Dust right here, which is pretty nice. Additionally, the Shatter Shell from this season, once again, Stasis themed one, is up for 2,850 Bright Dust. And then we have the VG-17 Flying Fortress exotic ship for 2,000 Bright Dust. Bit of a Season of Arrivals versus Heresy theme going on. There's the Lunatics Legacy exotic Sparrow, which is 2,500 Bright Dust. Some of these previews are being a little bit slow today. We'll try again. Doesn't seem to be wanting to play ball. We are in the tower, so that can cause issues. Weapon ornament wise though, we do have the Cleaver weapon ornament for Lament, which is certainly a pretty nice one. That's 1,250 Bright Dust. And then the Infinity Door projection is up for 1,500 Bright Dust. But for second page shaders, we have Verdigris right here. These all cost 300 Bright Dust, so no change there. There's also Circadian Chill available this week, which can be quite a nice one, as well as the Springtide Faint, which is quite pink, but quite nice, I suppose. Finally though, for shaders, there is Ultra Clean, which doesn't necessarily look ultra clean, but give us your thoughts. On top of that though, finally, Dark Blade Effects is up, as well as the Champion entrance and the Capsule Gang entrance, and all of those are 450 Bright Dust. So let us know down below if you plan to grab anything from the Eververse store this week. Now though, let's take a quick look at Banshee while we're here. It'd be rude not to. Right now we have the Nox Perennial with Fragile Focus and Collective Action, as well as Enigma with Grave Robber and Unrelenting. Threaded Needle's got Rangefinder Multi-Kill Clip, and the Eleatic Principle has Zen Moment Golden Tricorn. Also Semi-Attition with Shot Swap and Bipod. And finally, Hollow Denial is up with Adaptive Munitions and Dragonfly, but of course you can check in on a daily basis for changes in weapons and rolls. And lastly, we'll give Shader 1 a quick visit. Did you know Shader 1 is going to be the Arms Week vendor in the future? More info on that in a later video, but for shaders right now, we have Genotype Null 0 from back in Warmind. As always, these are 10,000 Glimmer at Ada 1. There's also New Pacific Rush, which is the Worn variant, and finally Dead Orbit Camo if you're after any older faction shaders. In terms of other content this week, the Nightfall weapon should be the Rake Angle. On top of that, if you need to do any Vexcalibur upgrades or indeed earn the weapon for the first time, that's featured this week in the exotic mission, which is Node Override Avalon. Other pinnacle activities though include that Garden of Salvation is up this week for any raiders out there, so if you need to farm any legendary rewards, those won't have lockouts this week. The same applies to King's Fall, and additionally from that we can get Touch of Malice, so we can farm our way to our heart's content in any of those activities, but our final mention for the moment is Lost Sectors this week, and today we have Vel's Labyrinth featured. These have chances to drop world weapons and can drop exotic engrams when we clear them solo. For June 4th, we'll have Exodus Garden 2A, then Aphelion's Rest featured on the 5th of June, followed by Chamber of Starlight on June 6th. Plus for the 7th, we'll have Hydroponics Delta, June 8th is Gilded Precept, and finally, Thrilladrome will be featured on the 9th, ahead of the next weekly reset. So that sums up most of the important content this week, but as we've mentioned, Bungie are going to start to talk much more about Edge of Fate, so once again, keep it locked and loaded here, as a lot of the conversation in the next few weeks will be about the next expansion. And if you're new, get subscribed to the channel, as around 50% of viewers on this channel haven't done that yet, so if you feel like helping us out, it would make a massive difference. Plus you can turn on notifications by hitting the bell icon below, and that way you won't miss out on any content. Otherwise, let us know any thoughts you have on the Edge of Fate previews, or if you're diving into the game again this week. But as always, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.